Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at Chainlink. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. Before we jump into the lower degree counting here, what we're going to talk about is some of our higher time frame ideas. Now, within an idea that we talked about in previous videos, what we were talking about is the possibility of this being a fourth wave. Now, the target area we're looking for was between this 1382 and this 50%, and we have had a reaction from this area. Now, if we are looking at this as a potential fourth wave completed, this could then mean that we could be starting this next leg of this journey up towards this zone of this 227 to this 93.93. Now, there are other interpretations of this move, so we need to be very careful, because in the idea that we actually have a completed move into this high here, we could also still be looking for a deeper retracement, which could look to push us back down towards this 257 to this 45-cent region. So because of this reason, we need to just wait and see whether we continue to get confirmation of that 5-wave move to the upside. And ideally, what we want to see is our bullish case start to play out. Now, we're going to talk about that first, and then we're going to talk about the secondary idea here, where we could have this as a bigger A, B, and a C pattern looking to move to the downside. Now, within our idea of this whole move here being a corrective structure that is completed, we'd have to say that this is A, B, and we'd be looking at this as C wave. Now, the problem that I have with this is, as a C wave, what we'd then be saying is that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'd have to treat this as an expanding diagonal, which is actually completed into this low here of this 480. Moving down below this point again would invalidate the idea of this being a diagonal pattern, in my opinion, unless we started to form something like a flat correction, which would look something along these lines, where we might sweep this. If this is the case, what this would then mean is that potentially here within this ABC pattern, this could actually just be a bigger A wave, and then we could still see something like this play out as a B wave and then see that continuation. If we are going to say that this is going to look for that continuation up in a 5-wave move, what we need to do is get back above this $33 level, and actually I'd like to see consolidation above this area, and we need to see good impulsive structure along the way. So we're going to talk about a couple of these ways that this could look to play out. Now in previous videos, what we discussed was the idea here that this move here could just be a bigger A, B, and we're looking for this as a C wave. Now, we have come up into this zone that the typical C wave would look to complete, but if we come in a little bit closer here, what we'd be looking for is saying that this move here is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're looking for this as a 5th wave. Now, if we do continue to hold this level here of this $8.93, what we could then see is price start to have another 5-wave move to the upside, where we look for this 1226 to this 1151 as a possible target area. We can also see that this would align with actually pushing us up towards this 1382 level here, which is sitting at 1194. Now, as well as that, we do have this little target box in this area, where we do have some weekly naked points of control sitting at 1123, 1264, and then higher up here at between 1380 and 1407. We also have a weekly and a monthly naked point of control in this area. This would also align with a C wave, which moves up towards this 1.618 level here of this 1428. So I'm going to be watching these areas quite carefully here to see whether we continue to get these reactions. Within this idea, what we'd be saying is that this move is just a 3-wave move, where this is A, B, and C, and then either what we're going to see is we're going to start to see a breakdown, or alternatively what we could see here is that this move becomes an A, we get 3 waves down, and then we see that continuation up. So within this idea, like I said, we'd be expecting to find support once again between this 999 and this 893 level, and then seeing another push to the upside here towards this 1226 to this 1151. Now, the key thing within this is that if we continue to hold above this low here of this 572, we could potentially be extending out. We've got another way that we could be extending out here, but effectively, if we do get just even 3 waves up and we continue to hold this low of this 477, we can still look at this potentially as a bigger A, B, and a C pattern, where we could look to attack some of these higher levels. So if we do start to move down from this zone, I will still also be keeping an eye on the lower level here. If I just flip this into a B wave position between this 752 and this 577, if we continue to hold this green support box level, then we can always look at this extending out as a bigger corrective structure too. Now, if we're talking about that bullish scenario here, what we'd be looking for is that this is BR12, and then we'd be treating this as potentially 1212. Now, if this is the case, we haven't done enough here yet to confirm this. I'd like to ideally see a move past this 1287, but technically speaking, as long as we stay above this 828, then potentially we could still be looking for this white fourth wave to match up with this white wave one here, as long as we don't cross this level. Now, the ideal zone we'd be looking for is this 1287. The way we would be looking to get there, if we are going to see this play out, is actually treating this as 1, 2. This whole move then becomes wave 3. And once again, we're looking for that 999 to that 893 zone. If we do see something like this play out, where this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I'll be looking to see if this extends a little bit further up here towards this 1287. But like I said, even if we only complete into this zone here, if we do just get 3 waves back down and we hold the typical fourth wave area here of this 957, then potentially we can still be looking for an additional leg to the upside here, which would then align with the idea of this white count playing out. And then if we do get that white count playing out, I would still be anticipating an additional fourth and a fifth. Now, the key area here that I want to see on the higher degree structure here is to do with this wave 1 here that we have at this 847. If we do manage to move past this 1440, I will then be looking for an additional fourth and a fifth, which could look to potentially push us up past this zone of this 1785 to this 1561 one more time. And, you know, we do have some of these highs over here towards the zone of this 1832, 1949, and even this one here towards this 2874, if there's further extension that we can't see yet within the wave. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for this bullish case. The invalidations for this are quite simple. If we do get a move back down and we lose this 893, the probability of this being a fourth wave is less. Technically speaking, as long as we hold this low of this 711, we can potentially look to extend out again, where what we could say is that internally here we have another 1 and a 2, but we'd really need to protect these lows, and then we'd be looking for, you know, that impulsive structure to play out. Like I said, we need to be very careful here because we could just have this as a ABC pattern. And now if that's an ABC pattern, there's a couple of ways that we can look at this move. In the alternate way of treating this, still looking to push down one more time here for that lower support box. What we could also argue is that from further back, what we have is that this is just a bigger W, X, Y, X, and we could be potentially still looking for this Z wave to the downside. For more confidence that we are not in an X wave, I'd like to see us break above this level here of this 1430, but really until we take the high of this 3858, which would be this previous X wave over here, this could technically be still taking place. But with the idea here that, you know, this is an X wave, it would have started to become really unlikely that the time comparison between these X waves is, you know, similar anymore, and it would be more likely that it's part of a different structure here. So going to still be looking out for this. If we fail to break back above this 1430 level and this just plays out as a 3-wave move here, what we could then see is that this price action could look to complete in this way, where this is W, X, and Y. And we could then be looking for this to complete somewhere between this 1618 and this 1382 level before getting that continuation to the downside. Now, if we did complete where we currently are, this would basically put our target to the downside between this zone of this 467 to this 273. And what I'd be expecting to see here would be an additional 3-wave structure to the downside, looking to push us down past this Y wave low here. And we'd have to obviously wait for the structure to get a better indication of where exactly this could complete, because it is also possible that, you know, as I said, wherever could overshoot this, but this would be our minimum requirement within this idea. Now, one of the other things I want to talk about here is that if we are looking at this deeper correction in a B wave, it is always possible that we could see this take a lot more time to play out, and we could be looking at something more along these lines, where we're treating this as a 5-wave move. Now, it would be a very messy 5-wave move. I just want to say that before we go into the analysis, just because of the fact of this diagonal that we have to accept here, which is also expanding. So because of that reason, the probability is already a little bit less, but it is still technically viable for as long as the fact that we don't cross this 1496. As long as we stay below this low here, what we could then see is that actually our 5th wave, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, then this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 as an expanding diagonal. This would then become an additional fourth wave here. Target area for this is 1361 to this 784. So we have actually already come up here to the 0.382 retracement. 50% would be here at this 1361. And like I said, invalidation of this being an impulse would be here towards the zone of this 1496. If we stay below this 1361, then we could still be looking for that potential here that we could see a fifth wave start to develop to the downside. Now the difference with this is instead of seeing 3 waves down, what we'd be expecting to see is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this would then be looking for this zone of this 346 to this 249. Now that would be actually changed a little bit now because we've come up a little bit higher. So that would actually be 337 to this 233. And we'd be anticipating a rejection here in 5 waves to the downside. This is what I'm going to be looking for on the structure of the moves that actually play out after this point. If we do get a 5 wave move down like this, what we need to be very careful of is we have a 5 wave move off a high. Now this is typically means that we're going to get A, B, and C to the downside, which means that we could see a small pump to the upside. Well, it would be for a rather significant pump to the upside, to be honest with you, but nevertheless it would still be looking for that possibility of a B wave up here and then looking for this C wave to the downside. If this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we do get 5 waves down here, I'm going to be watching this zone of the fourth wave as a possible area we could see an interaction here with the B wave before looking for that C wave down, because this is something that occurs quite a lot within the Elliott wave counting. Okay, so to recap the lower time frame ideas here, what I'm looking for is to see whether we get this additional fourth and a fifth here towards this 1226 to this 1151. If we just complete into this area and we fail to achieve the 1.618 measurement here, which would be this 1305, then what I would be looking for is whether this move then finds support lower down here at this 50% to the 786, or whether we actually start to see this break down in a bigger way. If we start to break down in 5 waves, this could align with the idea of the fifth wave to the downside. Alternatively, if we start to break down in a corrective structure, this could be the first leg of the Z wave to the downside. So that's what I'm going to be looking out for within this idea. If, however, we are looking for that bullish idea, what we want to see is this 1287 get hit. If we get continuation and extension within these waves and we hit this 1287, the next area that we need to watch is this 957. If we do look to push down in 3 waves here, then we have that potential of pushing up in another fifth wave, and then we'd be looking for that additional fourth and a fifth to play out from that point. So this is going to be our bullish count in validation of this idea of this being a bigger move here to the upside. Because we don't have all the structure at the moment, would actually be this low here of this 714. But if we are looking at the internals of this, basically in validation of this fourth wave idea, would come by crossing this. If we do just get 3 waves down here, like I said, 999 to this 893 is going to be our typical fourth wave area before looking for this fifth wave to the upside, which could push us towards 1222 to this 1148. But like I said, if we want that bullish idea, we need to see that extension up here towards this 1287. Coming in and having a look at the daily CPR lines here, what we can see is that we actually printed these daily CPR lines and we haven't had an interaction with them since they were printed. Now, we are coming back into this level, which is this 996 to this 955, which is aligning with that idea of a fourth wave area. Now, if we do continue to hold this level, we could potentially then push back up towards this zone of this 1065, 1118, 1212, and this 1252 as potential upside targets for today. If we lose these central lines here between this zone of this 998 and this 955, there is a target down here of this S1 at this 928. Losing that level, other targets for today would be this 836, 788, and the lows down here towards this 697. Now moving over here and having a look at the weekly pivots, what we can see is that we had very tightly spread CPR. We had a big break to the upside. Now in this week, we have some wider CPR lines. Once again, these are going to potentially offer us support between this 970, 922 and this 873 level during this week. If we do look to continue to push to the upside and we hold these central lines, targets for this week would be 1120, 12.12, and the upper end of our target box here, this 14.23. So we're going to be keeping an eye on those levels if we do continue to hold above these central lines. If we start to lose these central lines, we do have potential to find support here at our S1 line at this 8.19. Other targets to the downside for this week would be 6.20 and this 5.18. Now we're going to come over here and have a look at the monthly pivots. What we can see with our monthly CPR lines here is that we were consolidating within our central lines here, and then we had this break to the upside. From this break, we actually had an interaction first with our R1 line here at this 908. We also then moved through our R2 line here at this 993. What we do have above us still is this 1160 zone, so that would align with actually finding additional support here and getting that fifth wave, which could look to push us up into this level. Now, there is always the potential here with these CPR lines that we can just see price move directly through these. So these are just zones that I'll be watching for potential pivots within the market. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and also in the description you will find a link to the Discord. Come check it out, it's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We will see you in the next one. Take care.